Welcome to my Instagram live show called The Third Phase. I'm excited that you're here today because I have a very inspiring guest. She is an author of a new book. Her name is Georgina O'Hara Callan, and she's the author of 60 and Speaking Up, which is perfect for this phase of our life. And it is a beautifully curated anthology celebrating women in their 60s, reclaiming voice, purpose, and joy, with stories about aging, intentionally embracing transformation, and honoring personal growth. It's both comforting and empowering, perfect for any reader, especially women, exploring this season of our lives. And everyone else, I am Lori Carpenter, interior designer and founder of The Third Phase. And I want to thank our sponsor, Life Ballet. Life Ballet is a manufacturer of stunning tile inset ready grab bars available in modular configurations that are ADA compliant. And you know, life is full of possibilities, and our homes should too. So be sure to check out lifeballet.com. And be sure to follow them over on Instagram at LifeBalletNW. And so if you have not joined my private Facebook group called The Third Phase, please do so at facebook.com/groups/The Third Phase. Now help me bring my guest on and welcome her. Her name again is Georgina O'Hara Callan. Let's bring her on and learn about so much more about her book. That she has just come out with, because I really feel like this is something that will touch so many of our lives. 60 and Speaking Up. You know, sometimes at this phase we feel like we don't have a voice. So let me see if I can bring her on. Sometimes we have a little technical difficulty, and the thing is, you know, it's great when it works, but sometimes it's slow. So let's give it a few more minutes and see if we can't get Georgina on here. Georgina, are you able to join? Oh, I get a notification you're having trouble joining us. We'll sit back and see if we can't get this to work. Sometimes our internet connections aren't always that great, so let's see what we can do. I see she has joined. There she
Hello,
is.
there.
Hey.
Sorry, I'm moving around to every room in the house thinking maybe it's my internet connection.
You
So,
never know, because I'm telling you, this internet is great when it works, correct?
well, I don't want to make you all seasick. So I'm just going to settle into one spot now. But I really thought, okay. But anyway, we're here. So
Oh,
thank you for
great.
persevering. I don't know what happened, but I think, as Leslie said, it's quite likely beyond our control.
Yes, yes. Well, I was just telling everyone about your new book, 60 and Speaking Up. How many books do you have?
Well, I wrote 4 books and published them traditionally, but this was in my 20s, late 20s and early 30s before I had children, and I'm someone, when I write, I need to spend a lot of time by myself, sort of an antisocial writer, if you like. And that's not conducive to soccer practice, carpool lines, and all of those other things. So I really abandoned writing, and I've always written nonfiction until this really tremendous decade, very underrated decade of the 60s, when time takes on a different meaning. You really are looking back. What have I done or not done? And what am I doing now? And what do I want to do in the future? And it was always an idea for me to go back to writing at some point. And I honestly struggled with, well, what should I write about? I mean, if you look, there are millions of books everywhere. And then I started to think about, well, this is really an important age. And I'm talking to friends and women, and people seem coy or almost ashamed to say how old they are. And I thought, well, this is really a topic that needs a broader expansion. We're not our
I
mother's
totally
generation.
agree.
Not our mother's generation, who were, our mothers were always, what, 45 or whatever they
Yeah.
felt. And there's nothing shameful about being your age. So to write about it, I thought, well, I have one voice, but I'd like the voices of other women. I'd like to hear from other women, and because we don't all have the same experience. What do
No.
they feel about being in their 60s? And many women, I think we have a couple of the essayists on here today, wrote, and many women also, it was so personal for them that they felt that they needed to write anonymously, and that's fine too.
Right.
So writing is something I think that is valuable for everybody, because it sets out ideas and intentions. And I think I discovered a lot about myself in writing this book as well, and continue to scribble scratch ideas and thoughts all day long, because it helps, for me, it helps to condense really what's going on in my brain, and what's important and what's not. Do you write,
Okay.
Laurie? Do you write?
Huh? You,
Do you write?
I not like you. Not like I do write, but I have to use Grammarly a lot when I
Okay.
write. I can get my thoughts down, but I'm not good at clarifying a lot of times. So Grammarly helps me out a lot. And Chat GP, I use that occasionally. So to me, that's not real writing. Not
Well,
like
I
you.
think writing's writing. I think for many people as well, the idea is that, a lot of people think you have to sort of start at the beginning and then write to the end. And I think often the best time is to start in the middle somewhere. Start where you feel most comfortable, and then you can. It's not like a recipe. Writing's not like a recipe where you get all the ingredients and then you start to make it. It's really
Yeah.
much more. Start where you feel that you have something to say, and then this is what I used to do before when we used to have, do you remember we used to get all those catalogs and things where you want to buy things, and because
Hmm.
the internet wasn't, everything wasn't
There was
available on the
no such
internet.
thing.
And so what I used to do is I used to mark everything I wanted in all the catalogs that I wanted to buy, and then shove them all in a drawer. And then 3 weeks later, pull them out and think, I don't want that. I don't want any of these things. And so writing to
I don't
me
like
is,
that at all.
yeah, I don't, why was I even thinking of buying it? So writing to me is very much like that. You just put it all down unself-consciously, and then you stow it away for a while, and then you come back to it and think, that's a good point, or what was I thinking? That doesn't make any sense. And so it's a process of discovering yourself.
That's great. Uh, when you were choosing your contributors, what themes kept surfacing on, writing in your 60s?
Well,
What
there are
themes?
two things there. Well, one, first person I thought of is on here, and that's Pillow Goddess, Deborah Main.
Yes,
She was one of the
yes.
first people I thought for this. And then, honestly, a lot of other people found me. Someone would reach out, and men, women would say, I hear you're writing this book. I have something to say.
That's great.
So, and what by some serendipitous way, nobody covered the same topic. everybody
Wow.
has a different topic. So that really told me that this is something that I need to publish, because I didn't have five people all saying the same thing. And so the perspectives for me were really, really important. And I was looking for honesty. I was looking for the idea that people would want to share of themselves, maybe things that they hadn't shared with other people, and with the really simple goal of saying, if we speak up and say, this is my age, I'm 69 years old, then you help the next person do the same thing. You help the next woman do exactly the same thing, and own your age. Not
Yes,
be ashamed of
absolutely.
it. And so that was very much for me. I was looking for women who'd be willing to write. I really several people just wanted to write about their daily routines, and that's not as interesting, frankly. I think people want
Right.
more. They want, how do you feel? Not what do you do? How are you feeling about this age? And
It's an interesting age. It's a very interesting age I had never been into, but owning it has helped me in so many ways I hadn't really thought about. You always want to be younger. You always want to be younger than you are, and you feel younger on the inside, but you're
you
not.
say that. I think, yeah, we want to be younger. I mean, is it, do we want to be younger, or do we want to look
Look,
younger? I think
I,
we want to look younger, for ourselves, not
hmm
necessarily for anybody else. But I'm working currently on 17 speaking up, which is the next book, because there's so many women who said, well, what about me? I'm 74. And one of the things that I found already in those early stages is that women in their 70s feel more akin to themselves in their 20s, because they really have moved beyond all stages. And some of them are even going back to picking up the threads of what they were doing in their 20s, albeit modified
wow.
over several decades. And so I'm looking at this as a really joyful, potentially opportunity to think about your 70s in a new way. So the 60s really are a time for preparation of, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be as I age, as this all changes, as I get physically, I'm maybe not able to do as much. So I feel that this it is a pivotal age. It's also an age of self-reflection, and I know not everybody's comfortable with self-reflection. It's hard, because you do have to
hmm
look at the coulda, woulda, shouldas,
hmm
or just decide, I'm not going to look at those. I'm just going to put them in a closet somewhere and forget them.
Yeah.
But I feel that if you look at that, you can really say, what was important to me, what wasn't important to me, what do I want to be important to me moving forwards, because we all have a timeline.
We do.
And what do I want to do with that? And if your timeline is, whatever it is, it's yours and you can own it. Nobody really wants to live with regret.
No.
And
No.
that's so many people have that opportunity to say at this time, I'm done with that. This is what I want to do now.
Well, what I remember being younger is like my mother, grandmother. It's kind of like once you hit 50,
Yeah.
you know, and I see now with my mother, she was old when she was 60, and she never
Yes.
really enjoyed things as she should have after that. It was like, okay, it's all over now. And there is so much more. We can reinvent ourselves and do so much more with our lives. So I feel like bringing this to women's, or to the forefront, so people, not just women, but people can realize there's so much more we can do now.
I agree with you. And I think women back then were also told to be old, told and
hmm
expected to be old. You're sort of written off. Maybe the most thing you could do is, maybe help out with the grandchildren, but you
Yes.
weren't, so therefore you didn't feel like you were entitled to any kind of any other kind of existence. And one of the
Correct.
things that I've been talking about quite a lot is this double standard. So if I'm in my 20s and I'm a baker and I make great pies and cakes, or I sew quilts or I garden, I'm just someone with a wonderful hobby. In my 60s, that's a granny hobby. And I feel that that is such a double standard
It
for us
is.
because
I hadn't
yes,
thought of that.
yeah, yes, we have the time now to be able to pursue these things, but why should they be gratified in some way? We've earned this time. We have earned this time to really do the things that we want to do that are important to us and to own it.
So, absolutely. Many women in their 60s and they're balancing freedoms with new responsibilities, grandparenting, caregiving, things like that. But boundaries are more really important than ever now because we do have a timeline. We are seeing, more of the end. What boundary setting strategies did your contributors discuss? Did you and
So
them
yes,
discuss?
so for some people, the idea of grandparenting was thrust upon them unexpectedly, and so those boundaries evolved over time as it's usually maybe a crisis that has precipitated that rather than something that was planned. I think the boundary setting, there's it's down to each individual person, but for the most part, people said, what am I willing to give? What am I willing to give of myself? I've given of myself all my life in
Hmm.
some way or another, often to other people. And I think this is something that resonated a lot and gave willingly,
Right.
it wanted to give, but at this point, I'm willing to say, I will do this for you. And I think that that intention setting is really helpful when it's written down and it's also shared with somebody because people forget, that expression, people never forget, that people forget what you say, but not how you feel. I think when
Hmm.
people see what you've written, if you write your boundaries and intentions down and you share that with someone, they can't forget that they heard that because they read
Absolutely.
it and it's more meaningful. So most people were looking at it with, yes, I'm willing to help. Yes, I know that I need and want to help you, but here are the definitions. And I think in the past it was just expected. It was just expected that you would step up and you would care for somebody and you would submerge your life into that care of somebody else. And from the responses I received from women, yes, I'm willing to help. Yes, I'm willing to care, but I'm going to do it allowing space for me.
Great. That's a good point. How did the women in your anthology build friendship and community at a stage when our circles are somewhat shrinking? And what repeatable ways to find your people?
So what's interesting to me, I think I have one of my oldest friends on here from the UK. We've known each other since the age of 8 or 9. And so we've kept friendships over the years. I think you have friends, that's that old expression, reasons, seasons, and lifetimes.
Hmm.
I have friends, and I think we've all had friends when we were raising our children, and we had a common thread there.
Yep.
And then later in life, the people that you may think that are going to be close to you have physically removed themselves. They've gone to the opposite ends of the country. They're living somewhere else. So you have to, it's almost like shaking a barrel and saying, I have to find new friends and I have to learn new social behavior as well, because your friends just accept you for who you are. But you have to learn how to make friends again, pretty much like you did in your 20s. You have to learn,
Correct.
and people at this age, most people are a little more set in their ways. But
Hmm.
so many women wrote about, I just have to go and join these clubs. I'm not a person who joins clubs, but I'm going to join clubs. I'm going to find my people again. I'm going to set out with the intention of finding people whom I like, who like me in return, and building the relationships pretty much like you did in your 20s.
Well, and too, as we age, it's kind of like our food, our taste in food, everything changes. And
Yes.
as we evolve into these seasons, there'll be things that we may enjoy, people that we didn't care that much for in our 20s or thought we didn't, and realized, hey, they are a lot different than I ever thought they would be, or that type I would have never thought I would have been a friend, we would have been close. So I think we just evolved with time.
Yes, I think what you're saying here is about revisiting our opinions. We have all these
Hmm.
opinions. I mean, I have a lot of opinions, not always popular, but it's just who I am.
I
I
agree
do
with
think that
myself. Yeah.
well, I do think that we have opinion. We form opinions in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and I think there's a tendency. So one of the things I hear from older women as well in this saying is, "I don't approve of that." And I remember my grandmother saying that, "I don't approve of that. I don't approve of
Yeah.
this." And I'm thinking, what changed where all of a sudden you've got this stamp in your hand where you're stamping, "I don't approve of this, I don't approve of that." We really have to be open to the idea that we may be forging new friendships with people, to your point, that we thought, maybe that's not my person. But it's on
Right.
it's on it's on me. It's on us to be able
Right.
to find a pathway forwards. And I think that is that is really what's important, is being open to that. Because if we close ourselves off to, not going to talk to, I don't approve of all these things, and I'm not going to
Uh-huh.
talk to all these people, we're just going to have a party of one.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, what did the stories reveal about sustaining health and vitality, maybe physical and cognitive and emotional, in ways that feel doable and not overwhelming?
I think that applies to everybody individually. I mean, a lot of women at this point in life have had sort of several health scares, if you like, and that's
Yeah.
really asked people to confront, to some extent, their mortality. And when people confront their mortality, they really start thinking backwards. So about, I don't know, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I thought, I probably have about 20 more years left. And I started what other people described as this sort of very macabre way, where I'd say, well, I've got 16 more summers, or 15 more summers,
Uh-huh.
or Christmases, or whatever, holidays, and thinking
Uh-huh.
that way, thinking about what do I want to do in that, and how do I want to be. For me, the biggest thing, and I know this is shared with other people, is I don't want to be dependent on anybody if I can avoid that at all. So that's on me to find my fitness, to find, I'm not a gym person. I have to find other things to do to keep myself fit physically. And with
Uh-huh.
that, I think the mental piece comes with that as well, because if everyone knows you feel better if you exercise,
Yes.
eating, all of these things. And for some people, it always seems, for me, they're always very enviable that they just sort of know what to do. Like people who realized when they were 22 they wanted to be a doctor, and I've always envied that because they've been so positive about that, whereas we all struggle with diet, exercise, relationships, what have you, and some people just seem to sail through all that. But in your 60s, looking down the line, how do I want to be moving forwards? Who do I want to be? What do I want to eat? What do I want to drink? What do I want to exercise? What do I want to do,
Mhm.
so that I can best take care of me so that somebody else doesn't have to.
Too.
And I
I
think
agree.
that's the part here, is if I take care of me, then there's less chances that somebody else won't have to do that for me.
Yeah. Um, Speaking up can trigger pushback, ageism, family dynamics, workplace biases. What language, mindset, or boundaries help women or men advocate for themselves?
So the other day I was in a store, and I was fumbling around in my purse for something and got my card out, and the helpful person on the other side said, "Oh, you can tap it." And it's like, yes, I know that. And I realized that if I'd been in my 20s and fumbling around, or 30s and fumbling around in my purse, they would have never tried to help me figure out how to pay for something. And so there's this ageism that follows you around everywhere.
Yeah.
And and I think you just gently push back and say, I do know how to use this, and I know how to use these other cards as well. I think you just have to really gently push back and speak up. Just speak up, and not just because it is a form of, it's really kind of an insult in a way. And you don't want to be rude back, but you can just say, I can do this. I'm good. For the next person
Right.
who comes along in line, maybe you won't try and help someone who doesn't need helping.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the biggest piece is confidence, that you
Mm-hmm.
are who you are, that you own your age, that, and the other component here is, and this is well known, you care less about what other people think.
You do.
You really care less about what other people think of you, and that frees up a lot.
Well, it's liberating. It's liberating. I think what I have found turning 60 is it's liberating. It's a time that you do feel more confident. You've seen a lot of things. You've done a lot of things. You've been through a lot of things, and I don't want to sit back and be, as you call, grannified. I want to. I've got too much I want to do. Too many things I want to do. So, I do like your word, grannified. Is that correct?
Yes. So Laurie, the part about that is, how do you set your intentions for what you want to do? I'm interested to know how you, I mean, I write mine down. I think about them a lot, change them, cross them out, that sort of thing. Do you do the same thing, or I mean, how do you set your intentions?
A lot of it I do. A lot of it, it's right here. But I do write down a lot. I do write down a lot, and I think about a lot. I walk every morning, and so I try to use that time to kind of meditate and think about the day, think about my life and the things I want to do. So I think that's what it is for me too. But writing down, nothing really ever gets accomplished unless you write it down. I think that
Taking
is
time for
important.
yourself. That's what you're
Yes,
saying, is you're
yes,
taking the
taking
time for
time for
yourself.
myself. Hmm.
And if you take time for yourself, then you're better equipped to deal with whatever happens during that day. And so
Right.
often, I heard from women in 30s and 40s and 50s who said, I have no time for me. There's never been time for me. There's always been a demand on me. And now I have time for myself to do the things that I want to do, even if that is walking regularly every day, or walking
Yes.
with a group of other women, which I think is another way to meet people.
It is that I used to do that a lot when I was younger, and it seems to try to find the same time that everybody can do this, and not getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do that. I was doing that, but let's talk about legacy a little bit. It comes up a lot. What forms of legacy, creative, civic, do you see, and what are some suggestions for our listeners about
So I
how
think
they
I
can start a small legacy project even this month for themselves?
think the big question you have to ask is, how do you want to be remembered? Because legacy is about remembrance. How do you want to be remembered? Are you in a position where you can donate to something and have something in your name, if that's important to you? I mean, how
Hmm.
can you pave the way for the people that are going to, your family, and friends, for the people who are behind you? So what does legacy mean to each and every one
Hmm.
of us? I think it's thinking about the future, and also thinking about that end point and how we want to be remembered. And we can't assume that people are going to remember us in the way that we want to be remembered. So,
Correct.
so we have to set out that. I mean, some of the things that I think about is, again, like, I don't want to leave behind a big mess for people to have to sort out.
Absolutely.
I don't want to do that at all. I think
No.
that's really very much part of the responsibility of being in your 60s
Hmm.
and in your 70s, is to have all your personal affairs sorted out in the best way possible, so that you don't leave a mess for someone else, because that's how they're going to remember you. they're gonna have how, they're going to remember you, that they didn't know where your passwords were, they didn't know all of these things, and that's really a lot of how you will be remembered. So I think it's really important.
How
It's
difficult you were.
how difficult you were. You made their life difficult. At the end, you
Yeah,
made it difficult for them, rather than doing something for them that says, I've got all these things in order for you. And
yes,
that is part of your legacy in a way,
it
because
is.
it's how
It's a
you
good
were
point.
remembered. And then I think the other component of legacy is really looking at, and it's a list thing for me. It's always been like this for me. Must haves, would like to have, and don't want. And so the must haves for me would be things I really, really, really want to do in life. I really want to write more books.
Right?
The nice to haves, I would really like to master certain things in the kitchen that I don't feel like following a recipe. I'm one of those hit and miss cooks. There are other things, and they can be small things or they can be really large things. There may be a hobby that I've dropped that I want to pick up again. I recently started swimming, not because I'm a swimmer of any kind at all, but it's my form of exercise and I'm following it through. No one is going to remember me as a swimmer. That's just not, that's
Not
for
the
me.
Olympic swimmer. You never
That's not
know.
for me. But they
70s,
might
it could
remember,
happen.
but they might remember that I took care of myself.
Yes. Good point.
So it's not about the swimming. It's really about I took care of myself so they didn't have to for as long as possible. And I think that's tied to legacy. I think anything that you can do to further someone else's opportunity as well, um, like this book, like sharing, like encouraging other women to talk. So, just to backtrack here a little bit, Laurie, when I first started the book, there were a lot of women who just clammed up and said, I don't have anything to say about being 60. I'm just 60. Doesn't mean anything. I'm just 60. In a decade, I'll be 70. And there were other people that really jumped on this. So I thought to myself, if you don't want to be 60, okay, get that. You don't want to be 60. You don't want to think about being 60. How are you going to navigate 70 and 80?
Right.
You have to think about yourself in these longevity terms and these terms of legacy, about this is the time to do the must-haves and the would like to do's. This is the time to be remembered in a way that you want to be remembered, not with a messy house, maybe, or you didn't care for yourself properly. All these kinds of things, from the personal to the financial.
Right.
And specifically, show up and join up. I don't think I'll be
Repeat
joining a
that.
swim club, though.
Yeah,
Don't think
show
I'll be
up, but repeat
show up
that
and
as you
show up and join up. Although I don't think any swim club wants me, but who knows?
join up. Okay. For the third phase audience who wants to maybe write their own story, what is a simple prompts or structure do you recommend?
I would recommend, as I said, starting in the middle and not trying to start at the beginning. Start in the middle with what do I want to say? What would I like people to know about me that I haven't told them? And what would I like people to know about me that I haven't shared with other people, that I'm willing to put down on paper and initially share with myself? Get to know myself. And then I think it's down to the individual. Some people, I work best first thing in the morning. I keep a notebook and a pen by my bed because sometimes I have ideas and thoughts. I've even pulled over by the side of the road to write something down. And then I keep them all in a big old binder. And then one day, every so often, I go through with them and I think, well, this is valid and this is complete rubbish. What was I thinking? And then I can distill my personal story. I'm shaping my point of view. I'm shaping myself. So I would just say to people, there's no formula. A lot of writers say, I'm going to write every day from 8 o'clock in the morning till 12 noon. And that's great if you're that kind of person and you can do that. But
Yes.
for other people wanting to write, start in the middle, start where it hurts. Start where you feel that you really have something you'd like other people to know about, or just yourself.
Yes.
A lot of people journal. I think that's I don't know that anyone wants to read my journal. I think it's more for me, it's more pedestrian for me to
You're
journal, but
right.
it also for a lot of people it helps because I don't know what's in someone's journal, so maybe they are articulating
Yeah.
their hopes and fears and intentions as well. Journaling's not for me. I just like the meat of writing.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point. It's different for everyone. For everyone. Okay. This has been such a wonderful conversation, but where do people buy your book or how do they contact you?
So the paperback and ebook is both on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, and any bookseller in the country can order the book from a distributor. They just need the title, and they can look it up and they can order it for someone who wants to support their local booksellers, whichever country they're in. Um,
How
so,
many
which I think is
contributors
important.
how many contributors were in your last book, the
It's
60
about
speaking?
almost 30 people. And a
Wow.
lot of people also just wanted to say a paragraph as well, which is fine. That's
Yeah.
great. They had a point of view. I was looking for points of view to your earlier comments. What do
Uh-huh.
people have to say? They're all different. A lot of people had points of view about makeup, cosmetics, and aging. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that so those points of view were really important to me. But
Yes.
and I think more will be the same. True, this will be true also of the 70s as women write about the transition from one decade to the
The
next.
next. When do you foresee that book being available?
November. It'll be November of this
This
year.
November.
Yes.
Wow. Well, we
Yes.
may
It's
need to have you back on to discuss that.
Well,
That's
what I love
very
so much,
exciting.
what I love so much was the women who were in their 70s saying, "Well, what about me? I mean, why can't I have my say?" And even women in their
Absolutely.
80s. So why can't we all have our say? It's really down to us to write our intentions and live our lives the way that we want. We're not doing any harm. We're not
No
hurting
harm,
anybody. We're just
no foul.
saying we're owning ourselves.
Yes. Very good. Well, Georgina, I know we had a few problems, but I am so thankful that I got to speak with you, and I cannot wait to get my book. I've been reading everything I can because I've ordered my book and it hasn't come in. And you know what? I guarantee you it'll be in my mailbox when I go down after this show. So
Of course. Laurie, thank you so very much. And
thank
thank you to
you.
Leslie. This has been wonderful. And thank you so much for giving women the opportunity to hear more about what they can do.
Well, we're aging more gracefully than ever, and I think it is a time for us to speak up, as your book says, and let's live as vibrantly as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.